Julian Castro wasn't the only one who went after Biden pretty aggressively. Even Jorge Ramos, one of the moderators in this debate, went after Biden and the immigration policy record in the Obama administration. So this video is, I think it'll be pretty good. Actually, let's start with video 15. Here's Jorge Ramos questioning Biden on the Obama immigration policy.
Vice President Biden, as a presidential candidate in 2008, you supported the border wall, saying, unlike most Democrats, I voted for 700 miles of fence. This is what you said. Then you served as vice president in an administration that deported 3 million people, the most ever in US history. Did you do anything to prevent those deportations? I mean, you've been asked this question before and refused to answer, so let me try once again. Are you prepared to say tonight that you and President Obama made a mistake about deportations? Why should Latinos trust you?
What Latinos should look at is comparing this president to the president we have is outrageous. Number one, we didn't lock people up in cages. We didn't separate families. We didn't do all of those things. Number one. Number two, by the time this is the president who came along with the DACA program. No one had ever done that before. This is the president who sent a legislation to the desk saying he wants to find a pathway for the 11 million undocumented in the United States of America. This is the president who's done a great deal. So I'm proud to have served with him. What I would do as president is several more things because things have changed. I would in fact make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come. I would change the order that the president just changed, saying women who were being beaten and abused could no longer claim that as a reason for asylum. And by the way, retrospectively, you know, the 25th anniversary of the Violence Against Women Act is up. The Republican Congress has not reauthorized it. Let's put pressure on them to pass the Violence Against Women Act now.
Okay, so that last part, I mean, I think that that's an important issue to talk about. It was weird that he attached the point about the Violence Against Women Act to a discussion or debate about immigration. That's just my view.
Well, that's literally all he has. When I saw him at his town hall in New Hampshire, that was the one real policy victory that he kept bringing up. He had no policy plans for the future, but that's really like his record, Iraq War, all of the stuff about segregation from the 70s, the crime bill, it's horrendous. So he brings up the Violence Against Women Act because that's one of the good things he did when he was a legislator. And I also just found it fascinating that the crowd really cheered in reaction to that tough question in a similar way that they cheered in reaction to the tough question on Kamala Harris's prosecutorial record. Those were the two questions I noticed that crowd reaction to. So it seems like the narratives, the correct narratives about those two candidates' records is penetrating.
Yeah, the good side about that particular clip is watching it the second time, he seemed more put together for the most part. Like he was speaking quickly and passionately without fumbling and stuff like that, which is that's good, I guess.
Complete sentences is like a low bar.
Exactly.
Low bar
but honestly, considering the rest of the performance, I think it's worth noting. On the downside, though, like, okay, I'm glad that you brought up the Violence Against Women Act. There were multiple issues affecting women that received no conversation whatsoever at this debate, which is true. But that's the ground floor of what we'd expect from any Democratic president. Like, are you implying that any of the other Democrats on the stage wouldn't reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act?
That's a good point. And also, let's just keep it real and let's talk about how the Violence Against Women Act was passed in the first place. It was passed because he included it in the crime bill as a way to get people like Bernie Sanders, who was against the crime bill, to vote in favor of the crime bill. Because the Violence Against Women Act was so incredibly important, especially at that time in the 1990s when domestic violence was a huge issue and everyone was discussing it. It was important to do something about it. So it was, in a way, a political trick. I'm not saying that Biden didn't believe in it, but the way that it was passed and the way it was attached to the crime bill, in my opinion, is problematic.
And imagine if Bernie Sanders had voted against the crime bill because of what it was in there. And now they're using it against him, but then they would say, oh, he voted against the Violence Against Women Act, that white old man.
Right, and I mean, he's already dealing with nonstop accusations of sexism, completely unfounded, but nonetheless, that's what he's dealing with. And so when Biden, pretends to be like the champion of the Violence Against Women Act, just understand how that was passed and why it was included in the crime bill in the first place. Now, the answer that Biden gave did not seem to make Jorge Ramos very happy, so he hit him with a follow-up. Let's take a look.
Yeah, but you didn't answer the question.
Well,
the question is, did you make a mistake with those deportations?
The president did the best thing that was able to be done at the time.
How about you?
I'm the vice president of the United States.
No, you're not anymore. You're not anymore. That was.
The Obama deportation thing is one of the most infuriating things that I can remember, because Obama just decided to deport millions of people, ruin their lives, including many women, obviously, because with the naive belief that he would get credit from Republicans for being tough on the border, and that only if he showed that he was tough on the border, he could then pass immigration reform. It's the same thing when Democrats used to try to be tough on Soviet Union or whatever. Like, they're never gonna trust you more than the Republican Party on that thing, so you might as well not do it. You might as well do the right thing and not deport all those people. You're never gonna get credit for being tough on the border because you're a Democrat and they think you're, an open borders guy. Just embrace it, who cares?
Yeah.
It's infuriating, and that's why Biden can't answer the question, because they made a pretty cynical political calculation and it blew up in their face.
Yeah, and then really fast, that line is delivered as if it's strong. I'm the vice president, but that's not strong. That's all you're doing is evading. You are demonstrating what Castro pointed out, the idea that you want credit for being in the room with Obama for anything that he might have done, but you, especially this is one of the things you talked about that you were gonna be involved in, to simply say, I was powerless. That's not a strong move, that's a cowardly move.
Yeah, again, I think you hit the nail on the head, and just going back to Julian Castro real quick, that is the type of critique or the type of attack that you can use that I think is very effective, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. You're either going to brag about what a wonderful job you think you did under the Obama administration, or you have to just leave it alone because it's too embarrassing to defend some of these horrible policies where Obama did absolutely concede to Republicans, thinking that they would be willing to work with him on other policies in the future. They did no such thing. They had no interest, as has been the theme of the show today. Apparently, you have to know Republicans for who they are. They're dirty tricksters, and they hit below the belt because all they really care about is getting what they want. They have no interest in working with Democrats to help them get what they want. We all know that.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.